Good evening. We'll go ahead and call to order the Westmont Village Board Committee of the Whole meeting for August 2nd, 2012. And if the clerk will do the roll call, please.
Mayor Ron is absent tonight. Mayor Pro Tem Seneca.
Here.
The clerk's here. Trustee Emery.
Here.
Trustee Fleming.
Here.
Trustee Klebanow.
Here.
Trustee Nero.
Here.
Trustee Scott.
Here.
Manager Searle.
Here.
Attorney Perez.
Here.
Public Works Director May. Here. Village Engineer Nickel. Here. Police Chief Mulhern.
Here.
Acting Community Development Director Malik. Here. Village Planner Ziegler. Here. Deputy Fire Chief Connolly. He's in the back of the room. Finance Director Parker.
If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have a couple of items tonight under open forum, and the first is Larry McIntyre. Is Larry here?
Is there someone?
He's in the house.
Larry.
Larry.
Fill out the form.
Larry McIntyre, you're up.
Sorry about that. Yes, I'm Larry McIntyre, and I'm here tonight on behalf of both the Westmont Public Library and Holy Trinity Church to promote an upcoming event that's going to be at the library. It's going to be the debut of an art exhibit called From Darkness to Light. And thank you, Glenn, for putting that on the overhead. But this image here is of an artist who has passed. Her name is Catherine Bradford Dyer, and she was an artist through and through, using different mediums. She was a writer and a painter and a sculptor. But this particular exhibit is in regards to lino cuts. And lino cuts is a very unique medium in which the artist actually carves out the negative image of what they're trying to create, and then ultimately will make a print of it so that when it's prints backwards, it reads forward. So I don't know if Glenn can zoom out, or maybe zoom it actually on this one here. But here's a couple of images of what it ultimately looks like. You can use different colors when you actually do the prints, but the detail of this artwork is absolutely amazing. And Father Jerry over at Holy Trinity Church has over 100 of these art pieces, and I'm working with them to help promote it. But on September 16th, which is a Sunday from 1 to 5 over at the library, will be the debut of this exhibit. So all of the trustees and actually all the community is invited to come and attend that debut, and then it will be open approximately for a month and a half up at Westmont Public Library, and then we'll hopefully tour some other local libraries and galleries. So if people have more questions, you can go to the website, which is let me take a look here real quick. It is CatherineDyerArt.com, and that will give you more information about her history, her biography, how these pieces of art are created, and more about the exhibit. So, hope to see you there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, under open forum, Bob Mackert, Westmont Special Events.
Hello, everyone. I'm here with Ken Constantino. We're here to promote the Rock and Roll Road Rally. It's our first annual Rock and Roll Road Rally. Well, Ken, do you want to show them the flyer? Or,
Well, can I pass this
Sure,
out?
sure. So September 8th, we are having our first first road rally. This is a clue-based rally where we get teams of participants of cars can go around and basically do a scavenger hunt on wheels.
And what we're doing right now is we're going to different purveyors and stores in the area in Westmont and getting them to sponsor the rally. It's $250 to sponsor. 100 of that goes to giving out a handout, and the other 150 pays to be in the program. The sponsors then are also the destinations that the rally people will go to. We have, I think, 4 or 5 destinations now.
A few more soon.
And we are hoping to get about 20 destinations, and we'd like to have 20 teams. You can do from 2 to as many people fit in the car legally. The police are going to be involved to make sure that it's a safe event. Like he said, it's from 3 to 6 at 6 o'clock. And then we're going to end at the Knights of Columbus with a nice picnic. with brats and chips and some pop. And then a couple of the people that we've talked to, like Trader Joe's and Jewel, have also, they can't participate as sponsors because they're corporate, but they're going to be donating food or prizes for this. So it should be a lot of fun. The cars can be decorated in a rock and roll theme. People can dress up in the rock and roll theme. And we hope to have a good turnout. And if you'd like to come and help us with it, or maybe you'd like to have a car yourself, that would be wonderful. And you can sign up right online at Westmont Special Events.
Cool.
And we're looking too on Tuesday nights at 6:30. From now until the road rally, we will be having meetings, planning out the rules, and then planning out fun destination clues for the different purveyors and vendors that want to be part of this.
Where are your meetings going to be held?
Right at the Village Center.
Westmont Center, yeah. Cool. Right.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
Excellent. Maybe some of the cars from cruising nights will get in.
Well, we're hoping.
You'll never know.
We're hoping.
Yeah.
That'd be
So,
cool. So-
It's all point driven, and if you come with a cool car, we grant you more points.
Yes,
So it's all in your
exactly.
favor.
Yes.
So, as well as dressing up or,
So if you know
Having a
somebody,
theme.
please let them know. Everybody
yep,
here.
we are looking for teams, and we'll sign up at cruising nights too. So
Great.
any team who wants to sign up, just come by to cruising nights and we'll sign you up there. All right, cool. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on, the next thing under mayor's items, Mayor Ron is really sorry that he's not here tonight because this is a very important night to him. He always likes to acknowledge the achievements of our young people here in Westmont, and especially the sports teams and academics. His son played in this league for many, many years when he was just a kid. He's now an adult with children of his own. So tonight we're going to honor a really important baseball team. It's our Babe Ruth, 13 to 15-year-olds. And I'd like to start out by having Manager Powers and Coach Marshall and Coach Gedaldig.
You got it.
Yeah, how about I practiced a long time. Maybe you guys could come to the podium, and before we hand out the achievements, just talk a little bit about the tournament and how they did.
Well, a few weeks ago, the boys started in the district tournament here in Westmont, and they swept all 3 games, finished 3-0, and won the district championship. The following week, we played in Calumet City, and after winning the first game, they lost the second, won the third, and then had to win twice on Sunday against the team that already beat us.
In 100-degree temperature.
Luckily for us, our boys wanted to play twice because they wanted to be champs. And we won the first game 2-1. And the boys were ready to go in the second game. They buried them pretty good, 6-0. A really, really good team from Hegewisch, Illinois. So with that, the boys won the state championship in Illinois and the Northern Illinois State Championship, and which took us last weekend to Henderson, Kentucky, and a little town south of Evansville, Indiana. And we didn't know what to expect, and the boys didn't know what to expect, I don't think, but they came out in the first game losing 4-1 to a great team, and we're feeling pretty good that they're only losing 4-1 and they didn't get swamped, and they come up and score 4 runs in the bottom of the 7th inning and win the game. So they won the next day 4-3 in game 2, and after losing a game, they went to single elimination competition and won that first game against Mattoon, Illinois, the Southern Illinois champs. And so can officially be called the Illinois State Champions. And in a hard-fought game in the quarterfinals, we played a team from Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And the boys took them pretty deep. There was a team that had beaten us earlier, maybe underestimated us a little bit. The boys took a lead through halfway through the game, and this team was, somebody told me, ranked 3rd nationally in 2011. And they ended up losing the game 6-2, but really completely hard-fought game, and they just did fantastic.
Right.
It was a great run. A great run. A lot of the thanks need to go to our fan support, the parents that came out with us. You see them here just as strong and in force as they were in Henderson, Kentucky for us. Special thanks go out to Joe and Denise Kubat for being our team photographers. Mrs. Powers, who became the chief operating officer off the field and took control of just about all the activities, dinners, and where we were going and what we were doing when. So big thanks go out to the fans and the parents who supported us, and to the village. Thank you. We were communicating back and forth. We kept on getting the support back, and all that was communicated on the field.
Great, great.
And the WIBA, the Westmont Youth Baseball Association, that it's a great organization in the west suburbs that works closely with the Park District. We have the best fields in the western suburbs. Other teams out here want to come and play at our fields, and it's due to the Park District and the WIBA and their efforts.
We're so proud of this team, and it's been more than 50 years since any team from Westmont has gone this far, and this doesn't happen without expenses. These kids and families have spent a lot of money to make this happen, and I know some of our wonderful service organizations in the community have committed dollars to help defray some of those costs. So I would urge anybody out there, any group, any organization, homeowners associations, private parties, contact these guys. If you want to give them $1 or $2 to kind of help the pot, that would be absolutely great, and I know very much appreciated. We had a lot of fun the day we did this little send-off. We didn't have a lot of notice, but the notice we did have, Pat and I were out there bright and early, and some other people, and our police and fire were just absolutely wonderful with the escort out of town, so it was a lot of fun. So with that, let's do it.
So if you could give us just 1 second, as long as you're saying that right now, we took to calling our fans the Orange Crush because we would hear these big loud sounds in the background as we're playing the game. We'd look back, and it's just a sea of orange. And with that, we wanted to make, because you've done so much in being a cheerleader for us, we wanted you to make you an honorary member of the Orange Crush.
Oh my gosh, I'm so impressed. That is way cool.
Very cute.
Oh, I can say I'm from Westmont. Awesome, thank you. That just made my whole day. It was a lot of fun, a lot of fun. Okay, let's do this. Let's see if I can say the name twice.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a Village of Westmont Community Appreciation Award in recognition of your contributions to the Westmont Youth Baseball Association All-Stars 2012 Babe Ruth State Championship Team and participation in the Ohio Valley Region Playoffs, Orange Crush. The first one is to Mike Powers, is presented this award for outstanding efforts and achievement during the historical season of 2012. Congratulations, and it's signed by Clerk Virginia Simsky and Mayor William Runn. Thank you. Congratulations. And the next one is for Coach Mike Geduldig. I'm getting pretty good at
Appreciate that.
Thank you. Fellow Lion, Coach Mike Marshall. Congratulations. Now to the people that really made it happen. Anthony Alessi. There you go. Congratulations. Anthony Powers. Congratulations. Jack Brown. Congratulations. Nate Kubat. Congratulations. Mike Powers. Congratulations. Jack Belt. Oh, you know, I... Rebellato? Congratulations, sorry I massacred that. Alex Sivak? Congratulations. Cam Harvey? Yay! Okay, thank you. Nate Price? Nate couldn't be here? I'll put you in charge of that for now. Billy Condon? Congratulations. Mike Goodaldig? Great. Congratulations. And Tom Franzik. Congratulations. Thank you so much for making Westmont proud. Great job. So happy. Okay, can all the players come up? Do a group shot? Oh, oh yeah, I will. I'll put my hat on.
Wow.
Yes. Okay, and that is the only thing that the mayor left under his items. So we will move on to the clerk.
It's been real trust.
Yeah, we'll wait a few seconds and clear the room. Although they're being very quiet.
I just want to, on the same vein, congratulate my daughter Gretchen and the gals she coached with, a police officer, as a matter of fact, from Naperville, Aaron Gibler. They coached a 18 and under gold division softball team that was sponsored by the Sox Bulls facility. And they won 6 games at the gold level in Oklahoma City, which is the toughest level at 18 and under. And the only 2 they lost were the two teams that played for the national championship. And they lost in what they call international rule, which is extra innings. So they played with both of those teams. She was very proud of them, and I saw the girls play. They were extremely good, and I was very proud of her and the other coach. So
That's great.
that goes along with
Gretchen.
congratulations to this wonderful team. So
Anything
that's all
else?
I have tonight.
Attorney,
I don't have anything tonight.
nothing tonight for you? Manager Cyril?
A couple things. The first thing I wanted to talk about was back during the discussion of the budget for this year, the board had said we would leave our funding alone for the calendar and the newsletter with the understanding that we would look at some ways to cut costs further for next year. So through a series of meetings and discussions with different groups, different vendors, we looked at several different options. One was a program through a company called Strathmore Marketing Solutions, and they put together some mock-up materials, sent it to us. It really seemed like it was more of a kind of just a newsletter solution where there would be some revenue sharing We also talked to a company called the Town Planner that I guess is a franchise organization that does a lot of calendars throughout the area. That's all advertised-based. The last communication I got from that organization came through the chamber was that I don't think they've had a Westmont franchise, but there is one that's going to be starting up, and they're going to be marketing that. One of the other things we looked at, which was actually something that was brought up a couple years ago because it was talked about at the Illinois Municipal League, was a publication called the Neighbors publication, and I'll just hold up a copy of it here. It's actually like a news magazine. And in the discussions where we've invited a number of different community groups to be involved, we've had the Westmont Chamber, we invited the Westmont Park District, we've had School District 201 invited, the library, Westmont Library, also District 60. I think I can safely say that all of those organizations felt like this publication was a publication they would have some interest in participating in. The way I began to look at this publication was as a possible replacement for not only our newsletter production, but our village calendar, because the way it's done is that every issue has 2 calendar pages for the upcoming 2 months, and that ties back into an online version of a calendar that is created at the beginning of the calendar year. Of course, it can be updated since it's online on a regular basis. The first effort at this publication actually started with our neighbor to the south, Darien. And it's been done, it's been repeated in Naperville, Downers has a version, Batavia has a version, Lisle is just in the process of kicking off a version. It's been done in a couple of different sort of financial models, and the one that seems to be the most successful is one in which the community organizations, the government organizations, I should say, participate by paying for some editorial content. And what I passed out for the board to look at is kind of a history of what our costs have been the last several years for the calendar production, newsletter production, and you can see how we've reduced it. And then in the far right-hand column, I'm showing we could actually double our newsletter production in essence, because right now we're doing a single-page newsletter with the water bill. We would go to 4 pages, and we could do that in this publication and combine it with the calendar by having the 2 calendar pages in here and then having the online version. And this would go out every other month to every resident. So the costs that you see on this spreadsheet include printing and distribution is the above cost, and then the content creation cost is the lower number. So when you total that together, we're actually talking about a little over 16% reduction over what we've currently got budgeted. It would mean giving up the calendar as we do it now. But again, this does seem to be something that these other governmental entities have a very strong interest in doing. I know the Chamber is very excited about it. I know that the executive director, if he were in town, would be here this evening to talk about it. It's been brought up at the executive board level and discussed. I have just, I can pass these around. These are some mock-ups that the publisher put together that would kind of show you maybe what the covers would look like. And then I'll pass these either way. And then the publisher also took one of our recent newsletters, and this is only a 2-page, but showed you how it might look inside the magazine. And I know that board members have seen copies of this magazine, both print form, and I think we distributed electronic versions of it, which are available on the websites of the communities that have this. So the reason I'm bringing it up tonight is I'm asking if this is something we're interested in, if we could put it on the agenda Monday as a motion to direct staff that this is what we would like to do for this coming year. The reason for the timing now is that in order to begin to put together the calendar that will become part of each issue going forward, they would like to start working on that now or sooner than later. My thought was that the actual first issue probably wouldn't go out until the beginning of 2013. However, in talking to the publisher, he could even foresee this going out sooner than that if we wanted to try to push for it. It isn't advertised, in addition to the cost from the governmental entities that would be participating, and the key for them to participate and have some control over the content is to pay for it. Some of the communities where they do this, the communities don't pay for any of the editorial content, so what they do is they submit press releases, and depending on how much space is available in any given edition, they'll use what they can from those press releases. They typically, even in those cases, though, they do provide the mayor an opportunity to put his letter in there free of charge. So what these numbers contemplate is 4 pages of newsletter every other month. There would be a mayor letter in there that's not charged. And then there is a section in the back that's called Around the Block. And I can pass this around if you want to look at the most recent issue that Batavia did. And you get some sense, I think they've got almost like 6 pages of material just dedicated to the service clubs and community organizations. They don't charge for that. Now, there will be interspersed with that information ads, and they do sell that art ad space. They guarantee that every publication, the ad space will not exceed 50% of the content. So that's the concept that we're talking about, and I wanted to raise it tonight, for discussion and to see if there'd be any interest in, putting something like this on the agenda just to give us some direction so that we can begin to work towards this for next year, and then, as we have done the last several years, kind of avoid that whole discussion during the budget process as we get further into the budget process. I think those were points that I wanted to make. I did want to let you know that the library's very, very, at least, from the administrative end, they're very, very interested in it. What they would probably do is start off with a couple of paid pages and would probably transition to a point where they would eventually, assuming we continued this on an ongoing basis, where they would put all of their print material in there. What some of the communities have done where they use this print magazine, it doesn't stop them from putting together an electronic version of their newsletter. They still do that. It also doesn't preclude the park districts from continuing to pay for and distribute their program guide. This wouldn't be a substitute for that. I think the park districts feel that is something they still need to get out directly to the residents. Now, some of them may rely more on an electronic version of that. Others may continue to print it. So that is it. I guess I'll answer questions at this point and see if there'd be any interest in giving staff some direction on Monday if we could put this on as a motion.
I like the idea, and what's nice about it is if something changes during the year, with the calendar, you can't change it.
Yep.
You got to notify, make how many announcements to it, and this way we see something's been changed. Next calendar comes out, it's got the right information on it.
if we do this, I would say we commit to do this for a year.
Yeah.
What they found is usually the first couple issues will go out and people may not, as much as you may try to advertise what it is, they're not going to know what it is.
Yeah.
And when they finally start to understand that and people start talking and saying, oh yeah, I'm getting, the city or the village news information through this magazine, it tends to grow in popularity pretty quickly, and they begin to look forward to it. So I would say at a minimum, we would make a commitment to do this for a year. If we're not happy, doesn't mean we can't go back to what we were doing before. But at least in the communities that seem to be using this paid model right now, it seems to be pretty popular.
Did they say anything, or we asked the question, has any community opted out of it after doing it for a year?
Have they ever quit it? None. Well, the paid model is relatively new, so the answer to that is no. I don't know that I'm not aware of any that have stopped publishing, and I'm not saying there aren't any, but he didn't mention any to me. The very first one was Darien, and that didn't start that long ago. It was like 4 or 5 years ago. Downers has a version of it. Their mayor writes a letter, but the city itself has a very robust public information department, and they continue to put out a lot of their own material, and they have their own printing capability in-house that obviously we don't. And Lyle is just moving forward. I talked to the publisher this afternoon. He just had a meeting with the mayor of Lyle and the executive director of their chamber, and they all seem pretty excited about this. And it looks like they're going to be trying the same kind of model that the city of Batavia has been using now for, I think, almost 2 years.
Well, it puts everything in one book.
Yeah.
You know what? It takes us to another level where I think we're ready to go to.
Could we
We're
eliminate?
getting more information out.
Could we eliminate the newsletter and the water bill then?
Yes.
Well, that's what I'm suggesting, that this would replace
2,000 sheets of
that
paper,
and combine the calendar. It'd all be one publication, and it'd be a news magazine.
And I like that the newsletter would potentially have more content
Yeah.
than what we're able to provide now, and every resident would get it at the same time.
And it comes out.
For now, it's staggered,
And how many times a year does it come out?
every other month.
Every other month, where a calendar comes out once a year. So this is
Right.
getting Westmont's name out multiple times throughout the year.
You would be sending the next 2 months' pages out every other month. And of course, the online version is there all the time. And it would be linked to our website and updated on
No
a
more
regular
calendar
basis.
then.
Yeah.
How's it delivered?
It's mailed.
U.S. mail.
Yeah.
Costs us nothing to
Now,
deliver
if the
it.
library goes in or the park district goes in, they pay? So the fee we see here will be our fee?
This is
and-
only our cost. We're not addressing theirs. They understand the costs. They've been given the costs. They've said that they're interested in trying it out. But I didn't really think it was relevant for us to look at their
News
costs.
magazine, the people who put an advertisement in will be paying for their own advertisement, so that'll help.
Right, that's a big part of what drives it is the advertising cost.
So every village pays for printing, but villages could choose to pay for some production if they want, is that?
Not every village, like Downers does not pay for anything.
So theirs is
But
entirely free.
they give them as gratis the mayor's letter. They provide news releases, and depending on how much ads space they sell, they will put stuff in selectively. The beauty of paying for the pages is you're guaranteed those pages. And
So the
you're guaranteed to
8,500.
have control over what you put on those pages.
And we get 4 pages?
That's what I proposed is 4 pages in these
Ron?
numbers.
The space that they sell, they'd be selling to just Westmont businesses?
That would be their focus.
Okay, just
And-
Westmont.
And, well, that's their desire, because they really feel like that becomes the power of this type of publication, is it becomes a
Useful,
community
yeah.
publication that people can own, and they can go to the businesses and say, this is going to go to every resident, and over time, the residents are going to expect it. So, I'm not going to say that they wouldn't sell space outside, but they really would like to sell it within the community.
Sure. Plus, too, I mean, just so everybody knows that just because if we were to do this newsletter and not do the calendar next year, that firm that he mentioned, Town Planner, is doing a Westmont calendar in town.
Yeah.
They are doing it as no cost to the village, and it's going to go to every resident. It's going to be a calendar with
Right.
dates. So you're still going to have a village calendar. It's just not going to be the one you're used to.
Yeah,
And
they've done that for a number of years in Elmhurst, I think, and
Hinsdale.
Hinsdale's done one. I'm not sure where else.
Good. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I like the idea of the magazine. I'm okay with the magazine.
So you okay with the concept of just, we'll put a motion on the agenda? Trustee Emery,
Yeah, I'm for it.
you're quiet. Okay. Okay, I just want to be sure.
Yeah, no, I said that when we first saw it, I was all for it.
Sounds good to me.
Cool.
All right, next item that I wanted to talk about is, as you know, the last meeting, we approved an ordinance to place on the November 6th ballot the question of home rule, as we're required to, given the fact that our population fell below 25,000. The question's going to state that, shall the Village of Westmont cease to be a home rule unit, yes or no? I wanted to mention that this evening, and for public information, let people know that the village is going to be putting together some informational presentations. We can't take a position on this issue, but we can go out in the community and talk about, what this means to the community, depending on which way it goes. So we're going to schedule those, and I just wanted to mention this publicly as well, that we would be happy to come to any group that's out there that would like to hear a presentation from us. Call me, number 630-981-6211, and we'll be happy to try to schedule that. We will probably, I know we will be putting together some informational handouts that, again, will be fact-based. There'll be information so that people can hopefully be informed when they go, to the ballot on November 6th. So I just wanted to mention that.
Is that all?
One more thing. No, actually, two more things.
I could have told you that.
I wanted to promote the fact that, and you'll see this in the Fry report, our acting community development director brought to my attention this week that we were named by the DePaul University's Chadwick Institute for Metropolitan Development as one of the top 20 suburbs for transit friendliness, I guess. I don't know how they want to describe it. This was noted in the Chicago Tribune, and I just passed out to the board. You can see the list. There's more information available online. I think if you would Google DePaul University Chadwick Institute for Metropolitan Development, you can actually get a copy of the study that was done there. So I just thought that was an important thing to share. This is cuts across all of the metro lines. It's not just the Burlington Northern, but all of the commuter lines that go in and out of Chicago. So that's kind of neat. And then the last thing I do have is to invite Chief Mulhern to the podium to talk a little bit about an item that's coming up on our next agenda, which is to revisit the ban that we put in place a couple years ago regarding video gaming.
Thank you, Manager Searle. At the recent Public Safety Committee meeting, a local business person approached the committee members asking if the village would relook at the issue of video gaming in Illinois. Back in 2009, the village board voted to ban video gaming in Illinois and wait to see what type of rules and regulations that the state comes up with. The state recently passed legislation, and the Illinois Gaming Board administrative rules on the issue of video gaming in Illinois, and a lot of villages are relooking at it. to get the villages or the residents' opinions. I know it's very important to this board, and also in doing our research, directed to try to get as much information as we can. Our residents and anyone who wishes, citizens are asked to go to the village website, www.westmont.illinois.gov or il.gov, and on there is a link that you can take an electronic survey that we're asking you to do. It's very short, it's only 2 pages, and it hits the highlights. We'd like to have that done by August 13th so that we can have the information for the board on the 16th. And if someone is watching this video cast and does not have internet access, they can come to the police station at 500 North Cass or come here to the clerk's office at 31 West Quincy at the Village Hall, and we have paper copies available that they can turn in, and it will be put into our calculations. So again,
Probably also get internet access to the library, I would imagine.
correct, yes. So we're asking the general public, the board, I'm sure, as am I, very interested in the public's opinion on this issue. And we have also sent out a different survey to all the liquor licensed establishments in Westmont to seek their opinion as well. And that way we'll see whether they're for or against this, and also give us an idea as to how many businesses are actually interested in this situation and how many machines that they would put in. So I'm just asking everybody to take a look at the village website and click on the link and take the survey. It should take you definitely less than 5 minutes, probably about 2 minutes.
Do we have the survey results from the last survey we did?
Yes, I do. I think at that
We
time,
didn't throw them out.
there were 70-some responses, I think, citizen-wise, and I think there was under 15 businesses. I can get that to Manager Searle for the packet tomorrow.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Chief, any towns around here that have already opted into doing this?
Oak Brook Terrace recently has approved it, and I've talked to the person who's going to oversee it. I'm going to go talk to them next week, hopefully, to learn how they're going to oversee the program. Oak Brook Terrace has approved it in Winfield. However, Winfield, the citizenry is trying to get it on the November ballot as a referendum to overturn that village's decision. Other than that, nobody else in this area that I'm aware of.
But there are communities that are, I think, beginning to look at it the same way we are, because of the gaming board rules coming out now.
Which we didn't have before.
We didn't have, a lot of people said, we'll wait and see what happens, and then we'll make it.
Chief, I'm
Look at it again.
just curious, with Oak Brook Terrace, does this mean that the off-track betting would be able to have them? I wonder if that has something to do with the reason they want it?
I don't know.
They're not
Just curious.
liquor license holder?
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Maybe under
But I'm not sure if the two can go together. I have to research
I thought there
that.
was something in what they came up with, though, that they weren't going to
That
allow
they can't?
MTBs to have the video.
Oh, okay.
Could be.
I thought there was something
Yeah.
there that they worded it that
Could be.
would allow them to have it.
The off-track betting site, or the OTB site that you see on Butterfield Road, isn't actually in Oak Brook Terrace.
That's kind of why I wondered.
Yeah, but I know they have recently voted, and I know they will be instituting it shortly, so I'm going to be working to see what they're doing to ensure everything is done on the up and up.
It's important. Very important that we hear from the residents on this.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
That's
Anything
all I
else?
have. Thank
Is that it? Okay. We'll start with trustee items. I will just go ahead and mention what a wonderful fire engine night we had last Thursday night, and thank you to the fire department. It was huge. It was just great to see all of that equipment out there. And I'm going to venture a guess that within the next 2 or 3 years, there's going to be this rivalry between the police and the fire, who can get the most equipment. Because fire department sent a strong message last Thursday. Lots of wonderful equipment. It was great. I don't believe the chief has been recognized, has he? No, go ahead.
No rivalry. We're working well together, and it was a fantastic night. I was there myself. It was a
It's
fantastic night.
unfair that your counterpart's not in town to
Yeah,
address the board.
No rivalry.
a friendly rivalry.
No, but the Hawaiian shirt was a nice touch with the chief
Yeah.
that night.
Yeah. Very nice. Also, just wanted to mention that the Westmont Special Events Corporation held a wonderful volunteer picnic last night up at Ty Warner Park. Trustee Klebanow and I were there. A lot of people were there. It was very crowded, very well attended. We have great volunteers in this community. If it weren't for them, I'll tell you, many of these village events that we all enjoy wouldn't even be happening. So thanks again to all of them. And the last thing I have is, a few weeks ago, they had the memorial service for Roger Westman, who is a very long time resident of Westmont who passed away last February. And it was just a wonderful, warm, and at times light ceremony. Trustee Scott sort of emceed it and pulled it all together. Manager Cyril gave a nice talk. It was just wonderful. It just made us all over again appreciate Roger Westman and all of the contributions he made to our community. And that's all I have, so moving right along, Trustee Emery.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Trustee Scott.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Trustee Nero.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Trustee Klebanow.
I'll just take a second to remind the citizens that we are still on for September for the Westmont Citizens Fire Academy, starting September 5th. So please, if you're interested, it's a great opportunity to work and network with your fire department. So please go ahead and sign up. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Trustee Fleming.
The only thing I have is that the Public Works Committee is going to have their regular meeting August 14th at the Public Works Department at 6 p.m. It is open to the public and anyone that would like to attend. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Which facility?
Water Department.
Water. Okay, at this time, do we have anything to be removed from the consent agenda? Monday?
Yes, I would like the C purchase orders to be pulled, please.
All of them, or is there just one in particular?
Well, there's one in particular, but just pull them off for now.
Okay, we can do that. Anything else? Moving on to unfinished business. Family Medical Leave Act, FMLA updates. Board to consider the following ordinances to, 1, amend the Village's Family Medical Leave Act of 1993 policy, and amend the Village's Code of Ordinances, Chapter 16, Section 62 through 136, Family Medical Leave Act.
This was an issue that came through Administration Finance Committee meeting where we were making some updates to our policy. We were going to make these changes at the last set of the meetings when we realized that we also needed to make some changes to Chapter 62. So this is being brought back to you. I'm not sure if it's two separate ordinances or one ordinance.
It is two separate ordinances.
Two separate
I believe I
ordinances?
put them in front of all of the trustees.
Okay, but it basically reflects the changes that are already in the federal law that we needed to make to the policy, and it'll also update our Chapter 62, which is our personnel code as well.
Okay. New business. Downtown Development Permit, 120 South Cass Avenue. Board to consider an ordinance approving a development permit request for the Bridal Sampler, a bridal store featuring gowns and accessories in the downtown B1 Limited business. And do we have a petitioner here?
I've never petitioned, so.
You're doing great.
Oh, she's coming to support me. I am Danielle Roberts, and I currently own a company called The Bridal Sampler, and we host events, bridal shows, and other events that are women-oriented, and we also have a retail space where the bridal gowns, and right now what we're doing is separating the two entities. So we're currently in Oak Brook, and that's where we're going to continue to house our corporate. We're not going to do gaming there. But we'll continue to host a corporate there, and then we would like to move the retail section in downtown Westmont, which is, we're on Midwest Road, so it's a straight shot for the gowns. And we have prom gowns and social occasion dresses. We have stunning wedding dresses and shoes, and it'll be a really nice fit for the downtown area. We've worked with Le Petit Bakery at some of our bridal shows, so we're kind of familiar with some of the bridal players, and yeah, it'd be a nice fit.
Great, great. Yeah, we have a couple of places in town that do wedding cakes, so you kind of hit the jackpot coming here.
Yeah, and plus they have that really nice window.
Yeah, it's
right
a
there.
great location, great location. Don't forget, we also have a wonderful Chamber of Commerce.
Well, my kids graduated from Westmont High School.
Oh,
so
loving it already.
We're Sentinels, yeah, so my son played basketball for 4 years, so.
Great.
Yeah.
Now, are you just going to be in the one storefront, and you're going to separate it in half type thing? Or
No,
are you
we're going to
over to.
We're going to have one storefront for the retail, and our corporate's going to stay in Oak
No,
Brook.
I mean on Cass, the space on the corner. When we look at your floor plan, it shows sort of a separation, of the space.
Right.
And so I was just wondering whether you're taking just the one store and you're going to have it divided, I mean, the one space, because there's 3 in that building, 3
Right.
retail spaces, and then sort of subdividing that on your plan, or whether you were going to take up 2 and go through the wall.
There's probably some reconfigurations, but it's only one side, sorry, but there's just a reconfiguration
Yeah, because the
of it.
one, we just have idea 2 in our
There's
packet.
about 6 ideas, you don't want to get in my head, but, but yeah, that's just the one section.
Okay.
And some redivision, there's kind of some reconstruction from the way it currently is.
Yeah. Okay.
Will you be hosting any special events
course.
there? Any kind of, like bridal shows and?
Well, it's too small for our bridal shows, but we'll definitely do open houses, we'll do sample sales, we'll do like tastings. We have affiliations with photographers and videographers, so we'll have open nights and ladies' night out where they can come in. We have mother to bride dresses, so we do makeovers and spa nights, so we work a lot with our vendors, and we'll host some events, yeah.
Wonderful.
Is that lot behind it, is that all available parking for that space?
I think so. You're talking about that's right behind the dentist
Yeah.
office? I think that's available. I know there's some assigned spaces.
Yes, we've talked with the property owner, and he said that those spaces would be available.
Okay. I think just as a helpful hint, which you can choose to throw out if you want, there's 2 spaces in front of the store, but people don't know when they go down the side street that you can pull into that lot, and there's plenty of parking, but because they see it's a dentist office, so that you don't run into problems, you may want to put, parking with a little arrow or something, because that was one of the problems the prior tenant had.
Yeah, and we did talk about signage right there too, that we're going to put some bridal signage right there so people would know.
Yeah, I think that would help you immensely, because of the parking situation.
Okay.
I have a question, I guess, for Jill or Ron. The last renter there, Bridget's, I believe she took advantage of the facade grant, or perhaps the building owner did, I'm not sure who. Would this be eligible for a facade grant or any grant monies for signage or anything?
Sure, it's a
New
new
building,
business.
new
owner,
business.
So
Yeah,
I didn't know if we did it for the building owner, because we only do it once for them.
Right.
So I didn't know who we did it for. But if we
we'd
did it-
work with the store owner and the property owner to make that happen, as long as it worked with the downtown.
But the restriction is the same person
Yeah.
applying couldn't apply, except it's got to be a minimum of 3 years?
Right, that's what I was curious about, if it was Bridget or if it was the building owner.
Okay.
I think it's.
That would make a
If it's the
difference.
building owner, it should be the tenant applying this time.
We can double check the file. It is every 3 years. I don't recall either party getting the grant money, so it might very well be an opportunity that Brian, the owner, and yourself would like to talk about further.
Definitely.
Yep.
Talk to them, it's,
Advantage.
Okay.
take advantage of that. Great. And this would happen when?
We're hoping to possibly get in by September, right before homecoming season, and definitely before our winter rush for the brides, so.
Excellent. Great. Any questions from the board?
Welcome to the village.
Yeah.
Yes. Sounds like a great fit, right across the street from a church.
Yeah.
What could be better?
That'll keep me in order, right?
What could be better?
Thank you.
Thank you, thanks for coming in.
Sell emergency rice packets.
Bubbles.
Bubbles, yeah. Okay. Okay, next on the agenda, temporary assignment pay. Board to consider an ordinance amending Chapter 62 of the Village Code of Ordinances, creating a section that provides for temporary assignment pay in specific circumstances.
This is a situation that came up recently, and it sort of amazes me when I think back over the years that I've been here that it hasn't come up before now. But we have a situation where we have an employee who's off temporarily, and we have folks in that department that are taking pieces of that person's assignment, and that job position is more complex than, and it's in a higher pay grade than where we're putting those different pieces below it. And we did a survey to find out how some of the other neighboring communities handled that, and two communities that we talked two in particular that have been doing this way for some time are the Village of Downers Grove and the Village of Lisle, where they have a policy that would allow a temporary pay increase for those specific tasks, but they have some rules that apply to that. They have to be doing that specific task for a minimum of 30 days, and then it's made very clear to that employee that, once that employee that's off comes back and resumes all the duties, that the pay is returned to the level that it was before. So based on that survey and the fact that the situation came up and we were asked the question, we thought it was kind of an issue of fairness that we wanted to bring to the board and talk about, changing our policy to allow for.
Ron, how would it address a situation where, and I don't know if it would even ever happen, but it potentially could, where a non-exempt could potentially be doing the job of an exempt? I know we would compensate for that period, a fair amount, but is that person then considered exempt for the 30 days? Or, because...
No, I don't think, there's a whole analysis test you have to apply to determine if somebody's an exempt, and if you take one specific function, I don't think that's going to make or break
it wouldn't matter.
their reclassification as exempt versus
So
non-exempt.
it's just strictly from the salary point?
Yeah.
Okay, just curious. Thank you.
Because there are so many anomaly situations involving people having to assume additional duties, somebody could be on maternity leave, somebody could be part of the Army Reserves and gets called out for active duty or whatever. There's a lot of what-ifs, and I think the way that I read the proposed ordinance, it's very open-ended that anybody could come in and say, well, yesterday I had to assume the duties of somebody because they were on they took a day off. I personally am not comfortable with it. I would like to postpone this and send it to Admin and Finance Committee for us to discuss it in more depth.
Well, the key would be they'd have to be doing that for a minimum of 30 days before they could even raise the issue.
I understand that, but people can always sit there and say a time limitation on it doesn't change the job duties classification. And like I say, there's situations that could arise under this where it may be by the Department of Labor seen to be a valid, even though less than 30 days, a valid reassignment of duties. So that's why I'm asking that we postpone it to send it back to Admin and Finance Committee to discuss this before we change the ordinance.
Do we really want to send it there, or do we need more legal review?
Yeah, their legal review, to me, would,
you're raising a particular legal point. Maybe we should have that review done before we bring it to the committee.
Yeah, we can do that, too.
Okay.
But it's, my concerns, I'm not comfortable voting on it.
The language as it's proposed. Okay.
Well, under certain circumstances.
Right.
It's just, what circumstances? There's just too many.
I think
out
if you
there.
define the circumstances, but then that would,
You're limiting it then.
yeah, that would be up to,
Right.
yeah.
It is kind of
perhaps.
open-ended because we're not sure of what the circumstances
Exactly.
would be.
But still, that leaves us open to a lot of things.
How did the other communities do it? How did they,
Well,
was this how
this
they
is
worded it?
based on theirs, and the one manager that I talked very specifically about, and I didn't have all the conversations, someone went through our HR administrator, but that I talked to him, that it was purposely left open for his discretion, and the board was comfortable with that.
One of the reasons that I'd like to go have it back in committee, probably before legal considerations, is I think the board needs to discuss in committee what it is that we want and what we want to accomplish and what we want to avoid backfiring on us. So I think if we then give direction to the village attorney, then they can tell us yay or nay and craft it around what we think is appropriate.
Okay.
Just a suggestion, but it's up to
Okay.
others what you want to do.
Okay, we'll put that on for Monday to postpone, or
We
do we
have
even have to put it
a,
on?
we have an opening Monday, right, for committee?
We do.
We have a what?
There's no committee meeting this Monday.
No,
August 6th.
I won't be here on August 6th.
Okay. Otherwise, we would either need a special meeting or we wouldn't have another
Right,
admin
plus-
finance committee meeting until.
Today's Thursday, we wouldn't, how
September
far
4th.
out does our agenda have to get posted?
48 hours?
48?
We could do it for Monday, yeah, if you,
No, we
You're not
can't
going to
do it.
be here.
No.
We would want you here. if-
Yeah, I'd like to be there,
I mean-
'cause that's why I'm asking for it to be
Since it's your
pulled off.
idea.
okay, so September,
Or later in August?
Later on in the month, I just.
A
it's-
special meeting?
Thursday
Yeah.
meeting, could we put it in there? Committee of the whole on Thursday? Can we
Prior.
Put a finance
Sure.
meeting in at 6?
gives an
Yeah,
hour.
why don't we
Go
do,
for
is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah,
August what?
16?
16?
Yep.
The next committee of the whole.
okay.
Okay. So Ron, or Anne Marie, do we just take it off of the agenda at this point, or do we have to leave it on for Monday and then postpone it?
We leave it on for Monday and
So-
motion to
and-
postpone
okay.
and then vote on that.
That sounds
So
good.
we will take it off.
Take it off the agenda.
You want to take it off, or do you want to vote on it to postpone it?
Take it off the agenda.
We can just remove it? Okay.
That's what I recommend, because we may, otherwise, even if we go to committee on the 16th, and then we want Anne Marie to look at something on it, depends on what you need to do and what our directives are. So it doesn't box you. So if we
Yeah,
take it
well,
off the agenda.
Postpone could be a day, or it could be
It
2
could be-
years.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You
Yeah.
just postpone to a future date.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
Either way, whatever you guys decide. Okay,
Whatever makes Ron happy.
that's right. I'll go, whatever makes you happy, Ron.
What?
Either move it or postpone it, it's up to you.
We're leaving it up to you.
It just doesn't really affect my motion one way or the other.
Okay.
Okay.
Ask and answer.
You get 2 hours
Blunt
notice on
answer, right.
something, you're not happy.
We
so-
walked right into that. Okay. Adoption of revisions to DuPage County Stormwater/Floodplain Ordinance. Board to consider an ordinance adopting the 2012 DuPage County Stormwater and Floodplain Ordinance amendments and general certification. And I'm guessing this is going to be Kim.
Yes. I have to apologize, this is the wrong, this is my previous presentation that I did, and the one that we're doing tonight is just a recap of that one before, and so it only has 7 slides, and so I'll skip through the slides that don't have to do with this. Okay. So as you said before, this is the DuPage County Stormwater Floodplain Ordinance revisions, and they also, the county has been working on this for 2 years now. 1992 was when this ordinance first went into effect, and they did a major rehaul of these ordinances, and they've also added 12 general certifications. Okay. Okay. The intent was to, the reason that they changed this ordinance was to amend the stormwater ordinance to provide the structure to better meet local, state, and federal stormwater regulations while optimizing the requirements for new development, redevelopments, and existing developments so DuPage County may remain competitive in maintaining, attracting business while preserving the high standard of flood control and environmental protection for all county residents. Some of the highlights of the ordinance, the changes that they made, it provides alternate methods to review and approve applications for permits by reducing submittal requirements under special circumstances through general certifications and letters of permission. As I said previously, they developed 12 general certifications. These have to do with simpler building permits, such as decks and sheds and detached garages and fences and utilities that are located within wetlands and floodplains. And so the submittal requirements are called out in the general certifications, and they are less than what would be normally required with a full permit submittal. And once they are, because we are a partial waiver community, these projects would be submitted to the Community Development Department with those submittal requirements, and then we would forward them on to the county for their review, and they would expedite those permits. The second item is thresholds for providing stormwater runoff facilities has changed from a zoning-based system to a system that recognizes the change in impervious areas on a site over time. Stormwater runoff facilities are detention areas. Previously, with the old ordinance, there were different threshold requirements depending on if you were commercial property or if you were residential property. Now it's detention is required whenever you have 25,000 square feet of net new impervious since 1992. So that's impervious that never existed before on that site. They've also recognized that when people reduce impervious now, so if you reduce the amount of impervious on the site by 5% over the last 3 years, detention will not be required. And those are county requirements. Okay. The third item is volume control BMPs are now required on development sites to promote runoff reduction, groundwater recharge, and water quality. Volume control BMPs are situations where you have an example of a volume control BMP is an underground detention facility that's an infiltration basin. And in most underground detention facilities are enclosed pipes or vaults. With an infiltration basin, you have arches that are made out of concrete or PVC, and those are placed on several feet of stone. And so now what the county is allowing is the void space between the stone. You get a 36% volume detention credit for that. So that will help that you won't have to provide as much underground detention. Developers and builders like that more. Limitation, and it helps promote infiltration and for the water to soak into the ground. The last one is limitations on floodplain modeling regulations to reduce submittal requirements. So that has to do with computer modeling for hydraulic and hydrologic modeling that has to go for streams and creeks and things like that. They don't require it in all the situations that they did previously. For instance, with a stream bank stabilization project, if you, for the cross-section of the creek, if you make it wider in some areas and fill it in some areas, as long as that's balanced over a certain distance, they'll allow you to do that without doing floodplain modeling. So that saves costs also. Floodplain regulations adjusted to allow for additional types of development within the floodplain. For example, sheds and detached garages. These are why general certifications that I mentioned earlier. They previously under the old county ordinance, for the detached garage, you would have to place the finished floor of the detached garage 1 foot above the base flood elevation. And the base flood elevation is where the water floods to in a 100-year storm. So you would have to fill in the floodplain, and then because you were filling in the floodplain, you'd have to sort of dig out another area that was 1.5 times the volume of the fill for the water to go now in that area. They're not requiring that anymore. They're allowing you to build your garage at grade, but you have to make sure that it's flood-proof up to the base flood elevation. So what you could do is put flow-through vents and stuff like that. And the building materials also have to be flood-proofed. But so that helps in costs and submittal requirements and time for review. They're doing consolidating requirements for riparian mitigation into the requirements for wetland buffers. Riparian area under the old ordinance was the natural area around waters of the DuPage. Those would be creeks and streams. And wetland buffers are naturalized areas around wetlands. Critical wetlands have a 100-foot buffer. Regulatory wetlands have a 50-foot buffer. Since they are sort of some of the same natural functions, they just count it the same now in a submittal, so you don't have to make 2 separate different submittals. Amending the thresholds for post-construction best management practices to correlate directly with changes in impervious area on the development site. Post-construction best management practices. In 2008, the county ordinance required that these be adopted. These have to do with the EPA, and these have to do with water quality requirements. so that the stormwater, it helps keeps pollutants out of the stormwater. So now, the way that it is, it used to be based again on zoning. Now it's based more on if you have 2,500 square feet of net new impervious, this is required. And so you can do things like underground manufactured BMP devices, or you can do bioswales, or you can do constructed wetlands. Those are some, or permeable paver patios, or permeable paver driveways. And the last one is recognizing additional special cases of development. They may be eligible for reduced submittal requirements. Okay, we'll skip over these different examples, and I'm just going to go to the end where we have the chart that compared the different examples and showed how, here it is, that there were time savings and cost savings from the old ordinance to the new ordinance. So the first example was a residential large lot tear down, and there's possible time savings and there are cost savings. For a residential, example 2, for a residential addition, there are time savings and there are cost savings. For a residential accessory structure like a garage, there are significant time savings and significant cost savings. For a utility maintenance project in a wetland, that's example 4, there are significant time savings and there are cost savings. For example 5, residential to mixed use, there were time savings and neutral or minor cost savings. For redevelopment with a tear down, there's possible time savings and there's significant cost savings. Okay, the county ordinance was adopted on July 25th on 2012. They recommended that the other villages adopt it within 3 months. They did give, they didn't start the training until like 2 weeks ago though, so they gave us, allowed people to have an extension of when they could adopt this by. They do anticipate that revisions to the ordinance will occur in 6 months. These should be minor though, and they figured that this would be the case because this was a major change of the ordinance. The revised ordinance and general certifications are available on the DuPage County website at this website address. The new county ordinances versus village stormwater ordinances. Village of Westmont is a partial waiver community. Therefore, DuPage County reviews projects that have floodplains, wetlands, and BMP, well, wetlands. Village of Westmont reviews BMPs and stormwater management, which include detention requirements. All communities within DuPage County must adopt the full DuPage County ordinance, and we must all be at a minimum as restrictive as the county ordinance. Feedback from the municipal engineers meetings indicates that most communities will be more restrictive than the new county ordinance, especially when it comes to stormwater management requirements. The village is more restrictive. They have more restrictive detention requirements than the county. We may consider giving detention credit for the volume control BMPs like the county is, which is what I mentioned, the void space between the stones. So that would be 36% of the volume of whatever stones are in the detention facility. Post-construction BMPs will be required for lot splits per the new county ordinance. The village may consider requiring VC BMPs instead of detention for lot splits. So currently, the village requires detention for lot splits. County ordinance does not. There are other communities that also require detention for lot splits. We might decide to give credit for void space between stones for permeable paver patios or permeable paver driveways. So we might consider giving detention credit for those situations. And so that's pretty much it. And we recommend approval of this ordinance. I've also have 2 attached resolutions that were provided by the county also. They had one that was required for the stormwater ordinance and one that was required for the general certifications.
Kim, it's very possible I either missed something or just didn't understand. They want us to adopt this now, knowing in 6 months they're going to have revisions.
Correct.
So then we re-adopt in 6 months? It sort of seems that why don't they just wait till they know what they're doing?
I think
Yes,
that
it is
those.
the county, it's kind of
Yes,
the
that's the county. I believe that it's
It just doesn't make sense to me.
Those are going to be like minor tweaks from what I understand, just because they know because this was a major change. So it's for minor tweaks. So it won't be as.
But we'll have to readopt.
We'll have to readopt. But we won't really have to change right now we're going to have to change all of our flow charts, all of our submittal
And then do it
checklist
again
requirements.
after their revisions.
Not as much at that point. Those should be minor changes. But right now we have to pretty much do everything.
Yes, I still don't understand why they're not.
What's the cost factor?
Yeah, it's like, why don't you just wait and do it
the,
right the first time?
What would be the consequences of just waiting?
I don't know that we're allowed to just wait. I already told them in an email, they asked us to say if we were going to adopt it later than July 25th, and I said that we were going to
they
adopt
adopted
it
on April 25th and gave
Right.
it 3 months to do it, but
Right.
it's a law no matter, it's a county law whether we adopt it or not. It's just, we're acknowledging that we intend to follow it as a minimum requirement, and in all cases, we are more stringent than the county ordinance anyway.
So we could actually wait to adopt it.
I don't know what, I don't want to test them on what the penalty is, because then it might be subject to different level of audits, because
Yeah.
we do the stormwater reviews
They'd
in-house.
withhold county funds.
So maybe we would be a non-waiver.
But I mean, if we didn't adopt it, but we enforced
Only
it,
ones that are paying us, so we might as well.
right?
Yeah.
Because it is the law.
What they'll do.
We don't adopt it, they don't know that we're enforcing it. So it's just bringing more attention to.
It's just sort
We're
of a-
required to adopt it.
We're
my
required to
understanding.
adopt
It's not
it.
like every federal law, you're not required to necessarily
Plus
adopt a
residents would
law
be very unhappy.
comparable to it.
You know,
Even with the
but I-
revisions, I mean, we have like, comparable locally, we have our standard specification booklet, which has got many different subjects in it, that is continually updated as we find problems with it, but it is one ordinance that we passed earlier. So the revisions aren't, startling, it's just good.
You can update it,
They
we
would
just
never get the
don't-
ordinance passed if you kept waiting for all the fine tuning.
Right, I think
Don't
like,
publish it. We don't put it in publication form until it's final, so that we don't have to pay for that kind of stuff.
Probably be reviewed annually after that.
I mean, yeah, changes will be made. One of the things that they noticed, they mentioned at the meeting, they don't have a lot coverage requirement like we do, so they never had to deal with that before. So they were talking at one of the municipal engineer meetings, how do we count this? Do we count pools as impervious? And it's like, oh, we've been doing that already. But one of the things that the way that it is right now, and I think they're going to change, is that permeable pavers are considered 100% pervious right now by their ordinance. And we know that that's not really how that is. So they're going to change that. But so those are some of the kinds of things that they will be changing.
Okay.
Pervious.
I would recommend that we adopt it and that.
I would too.
Yeah. He's been waiting patiently for quite a while.
There's a resident on the south side of town that keeps talking to me about this.
Really?
And I think the faster we can fix this, the better.
That's your husband, Bob.
It's my neighbor, Steve.
Do you have any other questions?
No,
or-
thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, we can move on. I don't believe there's anything under miscellaneous. No executive.
we have zoning code
We've got the
text
firewood.
Oh, I went right past the zoning code. Oh, yeah, that was a long meeting at Planning and Zoning. Zoning Code Text Amendment, Board to consider an ordinance approving a text amendment to the zoning code to allow firewood enclosures in the side and rear yard under certain circumstances.
Good evening. Staff is proposing a text amendment to the zoning code to allow firewood enclosures in the side and rear yards with several different requirements. Right now, firewood storage structures are not addressed in the code and therefore aren't permitted. And when staff receives complaints about the structures, they have to be removed. Because of a recent complaint and citation, the village's prosecuting attorney recommended that staff address this issue with a text amendment so that residents could store firewood legally on their lots. Staff proposed the text amendment to the Planning and Zoning Commission at the July meeting, where the commission voted unanimously not to support the text amendment. Since so many residents store firewood on their lots already, it was noted that the additional text amendment was not considered necessary. While the Planning and Zoning Commission did not have a favorable recommendation, staff is proposing the text amendment so reasonable firewood storage can be allowed and to support code enforcement if wood storage were to get out of hand. Using the Planning and Zoning commission discussion, staff revised the text amendment to make it less restrictive. So firewood can be stored in side and rear yards, out of any easements, no more than 4 feet high, and it must be untreated wood. And with that, I'm available for any questions.
I guess when I was watching planning and zoning, I didn't understand, and I want to understand a little better. If we don't have something on the books, that makes it illegal?
Yeah, if it's a structure that's not addressed in our zoning code, then it wouldn't be permitted by right.
So if it's a shed that's addressed and they just happen to be putting firewood in there?
They can put it in a shed. You just can't put it in the open.
Okay, and that would be considered a structure if it's open?
Is one of the firewood racks that they sell, like at Home Depot and Menards and stuff, is that considered a structure? Okay. I certainly understand why planning and zoning thought or voted unanimously why we wouldn't need one. Because, you know, it's the old bad apple theory. When you look at the pictures of what prompted this whole issue, you know, this is in a single-family lot that is this. I'm not going to be kind. It's this Rube Goldberg thing that's 12 feet high and 24 feet long, and if that were in my with all of these, you know, structures holding it from tipping, this is the bad apple. If he was on 20 acres, you know, somewhere, hey, more power to you. But this is right next to what you can see is a relatively new, large, what we encourage people to move to Westmont and build houses. Question for you. In the packet, you have a suggested terminology about shall not exceed 4 feet in height, 6 feet in side length, which I take it is 6 feet long pile, and about neatly stacked and comprised of, which you've condensed in the ordinance that Anne-Marie handed out about neatly stacked shall be comprised of raw and treated lumber. I would, the reason I ask about the firewood racks or whatever they call them, which would be construed as a structure, is that the way it's written now, firewood storage, as long as it's not in a setback or drainage, I guess you can pile it right on the ground, correct?
You could, you could stack it, which some people do. Some people don't use the actual racks, but it would just have to be neatly stacked, and it couldn't exceed the 4 feet.
What I would add is just one sentence to this, because, you know, this nonsense on 61st Street that prompted this whole discussion, and the fact that we would construe one of the firewood racks as a structure, I would add if stored in an accessory structure, the structure shall not exceed 6 feet in height from ground level. Because the guy on 61st with this huge thing, he could have the firewood stacked 4 feet, but he has a 12-foot high structure, and that's what's really obnoxious. So, and technically then if he, you know, broke it down in half, that it wasn't 24 feet long or in quarters, so it's only 6 feet long, he'd be okay. But it might be, you know, he might decide, you make me do this, but there's no height restriction, I'm just going to be obnoxious about it. So
we wouldn't allow a second structure. If you have a shed and a detached garage, that's the maximum that you can do. So you wouldn't be allowed to do an extra tall.
The one down on 61st that you gave us the pictures of, okay? Let's say he stacks the firewood. According to what we've been handed, a firewood pile shall not exceed 4 feet in height. Okay? Mm-hmm. The firewood pile itself might be 4 feet, but it's 24 feet long and the structure is 12 feet high. That's where the obnoxious factor comes in.
I want to limit the structure size.
So I want the structure that if stored in an accessory structure, because if, you know, if somebody wants to store it in their family room, I don't care. They could have mice and everything else. So if it's stored in a structure, it might be their house. So that's why I'm saying, if stored in an accessory structure, the structure shall not exceed 6 feet in height from ground level, which gives you, a lot of these ones are 4 feet high, but there's the component to get the stuff off the
Right.
ground so it's not wet and bug infested and all that. So if the structure itself is no higher than 6 feet, this would have to come down even if the firewood is only 4 feet high.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
So that's my recommendation on the
this-
firewood issue.
Is this located on his lot line? Where is it? It looks so close to the neighbor.
Property
It's
line.
inside the lot line.
Yeah.
So it's just barely off the property line.
I
It
think
almost looks like if a wind came and it were to tumble, it would hit the house.
I will build one
That's what it
between
looks
your
like.
house and my house, and we will see.
Part of what drove this discussion was, we were saying this is, excessive, and he's asking for rules. Well, what is allowable?
And so,
We don't have any rules.
but when you see something that is this atrocious, this is why we have to keep adding our governmental ordinances, because technically, till this problem came along, I agree with P&Z, we didn't need one. But when you see this, if this were next door to me, it wouldn't be standing. It would have had an accident. But,
You're on tape.
not by me, sorry. So that's why I recommend a structure height. Because it's on Steve Street, and I'm very conscious of that.
And now we solved the deck problem.
I don't want to see it from the deck either,
Yes, that's true. You could use that lumber that he's going to tear down to build
There you
your
go.
old deck.
It looks like it has plastic on the back, which.
It is probably
It's
to keep
canvas.
Tarp, yeah.
I mean,
That
yeah, but
just-
the thing,
become like
even
a
with a
wall.
structure like that, regardless of what it looks like, you're looking at several, you've got some health and safety issues with that, too.
One would
I mean, you're
think.
talking about mold and that, it'll grow on that tarp, on that canvas. You're talking about all
Untreated
kinds
That's
of-
why you have the big struts coming out to
Yeah,
keep
I
it
mean,
from
you know,
falling over.
And the
It's
insect
an integral
infestation
part.
alone is just, I mean, that could go in separate directions.
It looks like it would
So
fall on
is
his
your
house.
wood treated that you're putting up? Because you might want to.
Oh, it's nothing now, but I hope someday.
Jill, can I clarify? Initially, when we went to the Planning and Zoning Commission, it was just in the rear yard. We're
Right.
talking about putting it in the side yard as well, or allowable in the side yard?
The Planning and Zoning Commission noted that they would be receptive to that if they had voted in favor of a text amendment. They recommended side and rear. That's why we changed the language.
That addition as well.
I think when I watched it, I think the problem with the side yard is a lot of the homes are right on their easements.
Right.
So therefore, it wouldn't be able to go on the side, but they were considering a house that might be on another larger property that would have the opportunity. But I think as long
Or
as
a
they stay off
corner lot,
any
I think,
easements.
maybe what they were talking about too, on a corner lot.
Probably,
Sometimes
yeah.
the side would be a more efficient place
Corner
to
lots give you
put
a
it.
really big easement though, so.
Right. If you had a 20-foot side yard setback, you'd
So
have plenty of room.
it didn't sound like it'd be appropriate for a lot of homes on the side yard, but there still could be a few of them, and they didn't want to restrict it from that.
Okay.
But yeah, I think as long as they stay off, and I know they discussed whether it should be easement or what, because
Setbacks and
the
easements.
setbacks and easements, because you've got, like, I don't have any side easements, but I do have the setback. So
Right.
we've got to make sure they both are in there, the setback and easement for the
Right.
people like us. So, yeah, I felt bad because I could understand where they're going. You know, it's another government entity encroaching and, yeah, and more rules and stuff, and I could see right where they're going. But then when you see the photos and you see what the family's going through, you got, somebody else is, going to try it again, I guess.
It's sad we have to do that.
It
really
is, it is. It's people who push the limits.
People complain that there's too much government control, well, that's why.
Because I really did not want to do this until I saw these
Otherwise, we
pictures.
would not need one, no pun intended.
So, yeah.
All right.
You're happy with that added on there about the,
Of course, but my emotions don't count. I'm like Manager Searle.
no, but I mean, that'll help.
Wait a minute. I didn't say my emotions don't count. They weren't affected.
No, I just meant, if you think that's going to cover an area, I can see where you're coming from on that, so.
I mean, it's nice, I live on a corner lot. If I decide to put a fireplace in, at least I know where I can put the firewood.
I guess to Trustee Emery's point about 6 feet high, if we're only allowing 4 feet, why do we give them the extra feet?
Because that would be from the ground, that would give you another
Yeah,
foot or
if
two.
they're- it gives you
So they can lift it off the bottom.
Yeah, it gives you
They can make the
clearance.
choice of how high, okay.
Yeah, why would you have a wood pile higher than a fence height that you have a restriction on?
Yeah, it just doesn't, okay. So you have enough direction, everybody knows what's happening
Yes.
here, and everybody's.
I think their theory, though, was they were concerned about people who might get all their lumber in one drop-off for the
Right.
whole winter, for the whole year, and that's why they were looking at possibly huge areas, but I don't see why they can't.
Or you
do it in
cut
two
down
bulks.
half a forest and stack it.
They should talk to our street department and get some of those trees.
There's more wood than that, too, than what you see there.
Yeah, because this isn't a delivered cord, because the trunk is still
I hope he's not picking
intact.
up all those ash trees that are being cut
Just out of curiosity, and I got to ask, is this the gentleman that used to live on South Washington that had the service, that moved?
No,
I don't think so.
No?
I don't think
Okay.
so.
What was that? We can't hear you.
No, there was someone that used to live on
Oh,
South
who you
Washington.
mean? I don't think it's him.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Is there any way to make the height restriction tied to the fence height? Because with a 4-foot fence, I really wouldn't want a 6-foot structure looking out my kitchen window.
You know what, I hate to do this to you, but for the public and for the minutes, could you come to the podium and state your name and thank you?
Good question.
So everybody can hear you, because that's an excellent question.
My name's Audrey Payne, 29 South Williams, and my question is, could we limit the structure height to match the height of the fence, so that you don't have something sticking up over the top of the fence height?
So if you have a 6-foot fence, it's 6 foot. If you have a 4-foot, it's 4.
And it's probably crazy, it's probably, if it's attached to the house as a lean-to, it probably doesn't matter. But if it's freestanding, I would not want to look out my kitchen window and see this big 6-foot-high thing
Yeah, but you
over
would
my
still,
4-foot
if
fence.
somebody just had a shed, it would be higher than the fence. you
Well,
would
and
still
some
have to
people
look
don't
at
even
it.
have a fence.
But a shed is not unpleasant to look at. That thing is unpleasant to look at.
Well, that would be unpleasant, yeah, but I'm just
Any
saying.
form of that is kind of unpleasant to look at.
Well, I think,
And I'm also trying to limit the amount of mice and bugs that are going to be crawling around my property.
Planted that seed.
I don't even put mulch around my house.
well, see, it hasn't been a problem anywhere but here. And most people that, if they've got a short fence, they don't stack the firewood like over the fence.
It's called courtesy.
The only reason that it came to mind is because I have a different version of a wood pile problem in my neighborhood. And so
Mice?
wet wood that smells bad.
Oh.
Lot of wet wood that smells bad. So it just,
You'll have to call our department and we'll take a look at it. There are code requirements as far as whether the wood pile is rotting,
I think that's
drawing vermin and those
That could be
things. So
addressed.
Audrey, if you want to get in touch, we can go out there.
I think that's a really good point that she brings up. The only time that wouldn't work is not every house has a fence to begin with.
Sure, so how do you?
So, yeah.
Yeah. And then the ones who would have the smaller fence would be complaining because somebody down might have the higher fence because of the way their yard is, so.
What, they can have more firewood than me, or what? I mean,
Yeah.
no, I mean,
Oh, would you? Yeah, I think we need
Or
to
the
make it
person with the higher
uniform
fence could
for no matter
store
what
it and
size, but
charge
that's a good thought, whether it's 5 or.
I want 2 panels of 6-foot fence, you know?
Let's, well, let's start here and see if it evolves into more problems.
Yeah.
But
That's what I
I think the
recommend.
majority of the people that live within the village have enough common courtesy to their neighbors to do it the right
Yeah,
way.
I
It's
mean,
just
I've never seen
It's
another
like you said, the
freestanding
bad
one.
apple scenario here. You've got a few that just want to push the cart and want to argue
their
with
own
you all the way down the block. I mean, it's just, and unfortunately, I agree with everyone else here. I mean, this is something that I don't think we should have
Well,
to even,
and,
but it's,
and this might be the first of many, just by virtue of it being on planning and zoning, and Audrey's comments about her neighborhood, and all of our discussion tonight, others be brought to our attention.
Oh, yeah.
So
Opens that other
it's a
door.
good time to get it on the books and just nip it in the bud, and,
I'm sure this is economy-driven, too.
yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure,
sure it is.
yeah. Okay, is there anything else on that topic? Staff has their direction, and everybody's good?
I was thinking whether we just put in there that it shall not be freestanding, but that that
can
might
wait and
limit
see.
stuff that, no, let's try it the way it is.
Okay. We can always amend it at
Yep.
a later date if it becomes a
Along with the stormwater ordinance, we'll just put them together.
Let's just put it in there.
Before we adjourn, I just wanted to let the public know that the amount of our finance ordinance for Monday night's vote is $785,277.95.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's one more thing. When I had asked for the POs to be pulled, it's because I wanted to pull them to discuss them.
Okay.
They still may end up being on
That's fine.
Mondays.
That's good.
So if we may discuss, because I don't know if I want it on there yet or not, purchase order, the first one for the International 96,354, the chipper, I believe, the chipper box. Yes.
So our, well, what, the way I interpret your request is we're going to pull all of them off. the
Well, I want them all
consent
off,
agenda.
because then if I decide I don't want this on there, then you're going to have to pull this one off, but the rest of them could remain on the consent agenda. I wasn't going to pull one item off and then say, well, keep it on there. I just pull the whole POs off right now so we can discuss it. And then when I'm done discussing, the
So
POs
you
can
wanna
go back
discuss them now
on,
and- okay.
whether this one item will be
Okay.
on there or not.
Oh, that's good.
Okay.
Go have the discussion now about it.
Right, I want it
That
now.
works.
Right, it might stay for all I know. I did get
Right
your
this
letter.
minute, Steve. Right
I
this
did
minute.
get your email, and I just had some concerns. According to your email, you're getting rid of the 2005 and not the 2002, the older one,
Yes.
because,
Well, there were a few factors, and I guess it'd be good to kind of just describe the vehicle replacement plan in general first. We have I don't have to go through the whole history of why we have a plan, but there are many factors that go into picking when we remove a vehicle, and it's not necessarily the hours or the miles or the maintenance of the vehicle, but those are all factors that work into it. But the primary factor that the plan is modeled over is the age. So very typically, a 10-year cycle was used for most vehicles and equipment. There are others that are longer. Some very high-use ones are shorter, but squad cars are much shorter. And so there's a year-based replacement schedule. And then when that year comes up and the schedule gets in there, the fleet manager looks at them and makes an evaluation as to whether or not sometimes there's another vehicle that is in much worse shape than anticipated before it gets to be 10 years old. And we have made substitutions in the plan before, but it's always add one or remove one or just change the order that the vehicles come on. So in this particular case, I took a couple pictures today. There's two vehicles that we use as a chipper. We used to have one chipper truck that was the primary, we used to have one chipper truck that went out, and the other one was a spare, or in a very big storm would go out as a second vehicle. And then in the worst windstorm a couple years ago, we had 3 vehicles that went out. We had to actually rent another chipper, but we pulled a third vehicle to clean up the town. Since that time, you'll also remember we used to do our brush pickup program in quarters of the town. So we did a quarter of the town each week, and now we're doing half the town each week. So since we started doing that, we've been sending 2 trucks out to do brush pickup. The 2 vehicles we have that do that are the International, which is the 2002, and the Chevy, which is the 2005. It is a newer vehicle, but is significantly much smaller than the other vehicle, which is why we're taking the replacement. Some of these are kind of hard to tell, but the International is a dual cab, so the entire crew can travel in the vehicle, whereas in the Chevy, it's a single cab. One person's in there. It needs a pickup truck to go around with it that the crew drives around in. When you look at the vehicles from the back, I don't know if it's obvious, but the International, the box is much longer, much taller. It's got a much bigger capacity. The Chevy fills up extremely quick. If it's not obvious from this photo, the chipper is actually taller than the box, so it has to shoot down into the truck, and we can't even fill up the box as it is. So that one's constantly returning to be emptied, and it's the least I don't want to say useful, it's not as practical as
Not
the
as
other vehicle
efficient.
for doing the work. It is 2 years newer, 3 years newer, but the one that's scheduled for replacement is the, if you just follow the plan, is 104 because it's 10 years old, but it's of actually more value to us than this one is. So we've changed the order of the two. 127 is the one that was proposed on this purchase order to be replaced with a vehicle that matches 104. There's a better look at 104.
And it's also functioning well.
Why is, according to the minutes, this chipper box at the same amount was approved in Finance Ordinance number 6, and it's coming back up in Finance Ordinance number 7?
My understanding, it was removed last meeting when I watched
It was,
Okay.
yeah.
But that was the explanation. So this particular one, and then with that, the mechanic also had to be satisfied that the 2002 that we're going to keep for 3 more years, because now it'll take the place of the 05. So we got to keep it 3 more years. And he's comfortable with the condition of it to, run it another 3 years. So it was his recommendation that we do this, that we switch this order.
It sounds strange that you would have that dual cab with a higher bed, and then 3 years later get something smaller. And now you're going back and trying to get rid of the smaller one because maybe you shouldn't have bought it to begin with. But
Well, that truck wasn't a chipper vehicle when it was bought.
That's what I'm trying to
So
find
we've
out.
converted it to a chipper vehicle to make the second.
Converted.
Right, to make it the second vehicle. So when it was first purchased, it wasn't used in that way, so the box was added. This was actually, I think the box is even older than the truck is. That was taken off yet an older piece of equipment when that went, to put that on there. And this was just used as our spare, or went out for when 2 of them had to go out together, bigger storms.
If you took the chipper off the box, would that be a snowplow truck?
It is not equipped for snowplow, so that
plowing.
hydraulic is not on there. It would be, accessories and stuff that would have to be purchased separately and installed on there. You could not use it as a chipper truck and use it as a different box, but then we would only have one chipper vehicle. And ever since we started doing half the town at a time, we've had 2 crews go out on every single brush pickup week since that time. So we would have to change our brush pickup policy if we were going to go down to 1 vehicle.
I just find it difficult to tell our residents we're going to get rid of something that's less than 30,000 miles and technically good condition. It's just that it doesn't have the dual cab and it's not as big.
Well, it's more cost-effective because you're not paying for fuel for the pickup for the other crew.
And the use of,
volume
2 vehicles to do the same job.
Yeah, but it's kind of hard to say $96,000 will pay for a lot of fuel and crew, so I don't know. I would like this item pulled separately than off the POs. The rest of the POs can go on.
Have that PO off.
Right.
Well, I mean, the other option to this, to solve this whole scenario, very simply is, okay, fine. We've adjusted the brush pickup program one time before. I guess we go back and revisit it. I mean, if it's a cost factor and what we're talking about is the amount of money we're spending, maybe we go back and look at the whole program again.
Let's look at the
I mean, I'm
storm.
just
Well,
playing.
I
I'm just
think
playing-
that's one
I'm just playing-
avenue.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I think that's one avenue, but
We strictly followed the replacement program. We would be replacing our more useful truck with one that's just like it.
Yeah, but that also bothers me, thinking that it's a 2002 and you can squeak another 3 years out of it. So you're saying it's in good condition, but we're going to dump it anyway. So like I said, that's one of the problems I had with the vehicle replacement. We're replacing vehicles that still have a lot of life.
Sure.
We'll get a better trade.
it'll be a better,
Yeah, I discussed it with some other people, and yeah, you don't get that much more. Is it going to make it 96,000? I don't know. Is it going to make it worth the difference for 2 or 3 more years? It's hard to say. It depends on just how good the engine. It's not so much the years, but how the wear and tear. But
We have said that about every vehicle, and then that's the theory behind the replacement plan, because when we used to do it that way, then everything, we had vehicles that were 20-something years old that we didn't have enough money to replace them when we got into a problem. So the point of putting the plan together and the schedule was so that there was uniform purchases each year, as opposed to having a lot of stuff getting old at the same time or coming due at the same time. So that's why I'm saying it's year-based more than it is mileage-based.
Well, and I think even to Trustee Fleming's point, if we were to just eliminate the brush pickup, which many towns don't even have it anyway, and who knows, after, we may not have it next year. There's a lot of unknowns for a while. But, that truck has other uses, another bad storm, any of that, two didn't cut it with the bad storms, and that could happen at any time.
Right.
Well, how many 100-year floods have we had, or 100-year rains that we've had?
Yeah,
And we've needed that. We've needed other towns to come in and help us.
exactly.
And not even talking about
That's a good point.
Emerald Ash Borer issue.
We ran 3 chippers and had help, right?
Yeah, plus had
Plus the
crews
tree
from.
guys, didn't we? Vitido trees even help.
Okay, we can take it off, and then everybody can vote.
Everybody vote on it
So we'll
separately,
do that.
Put
Does
all
anybody-
the other POs on
Yeah,
the
the other ones,
consent
unless somebody
agenda,
else has a question while they're
and
off
then
on
we'll
the
have
other
that
ones.
one off separate.
Correct,
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. There's nothing under miscellaneous. I think Ginny mentioned what she wanted to mention. There is no request for executive session. So we will go ahead and entertain a motion to adjourn at.
So moved, Emery.
Second, Scott.
Roll call.
Trustee Emery?
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow?
Yes.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Fleming?
Yeah.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.